Hello and welcome back. Today I'm doing a strength training for climbing workout. If you watched my last video, you know that I had a short climbing session beforehand and now I'm lifting. As I go through my workout today, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about why I choose the lifts that I choose, why I choose the rep scheme and rest times that I choose, and how it all supports your climbing. Today I'm doing just a really simple workout. I'm choosing 2 lifts, one upper body, one lower body lift, and I'm doing a 3x5 with them. So I'm just going to warm up with sets of 5 of progressively higher weights to work up to my working weight or the weight that I'm doing my sets at. And since I already climbed earlier, my body's pretty warmed up, so hopping straight into the lifts is totally fine. For any barbell lift, I always start with just the empty bar. Here I'm warming up for the deadlift by using the empty barbell and doing a 5-second hold at the mid-shin height just to really get warmed up for that hip hinge movement. For rest times between warm-up sets, I'll start with a minute or minute and a half in between my lighter sets, and then as those sets start to get heavier and heavier, I'll take closer to 2 to 3 minutes in between. As I warm up for my deadlift sets, I will talk a little bit more about exercise selection. So my personal coaching philosophy is to use what's called compound or multi-joint exercises, and all this means is that multiple muscle groups and joints are working together throughout the movement. In contrast, an isolation or single joint exercise is an exercise that only works one muscle at a time around one single joint. In my opinion, it's important to prioritize compound or multi-joint exercises during your workouts because as climbers and as humans in real life, our muscles work together, not in isolation. An easy example to give of a compound versus isolation exercise is in the upper body pulling movement pattern. So an example of a compound movement in this pattern would be a pull-up because you're creating motion around both the elbow and the shoulder. You're involving the biceps, the lats, and the shoulder stabilizing muscles, versus in an exercise like the bicep curl, you're only creating motion around the elbow and it's completely isolating the bicep. While isolation exercises do have their time and place, if you're looking to use strength training to support your climbing, I highly recommend prioritizing the compound movements. I've finished my warm-up sets. I'm taking a bit of a rest and then I'm going to get into my 3x5. I'm going to do 5 reps, rest for between 3 to 4 minutes, and then perform that 3 times. I'm doing the deadlift and then I'll do the bench press. If you're in a time crunch, you can definitely superset these. So that would mean doing 5 deadlifts followed by 5 bench presses and then take your 3 to 4 minute rest. I'm doing them separately because I will get more rest time to talk to you all. You may be wondering why I am doing such a short, low volume workout, and that's because I consider myself to be in season right now, so trying to perform outside on sport climbs. And so my priority when it comes to the strength training is to maintain my strength and not necessarily to put a ton of energy into trying to build strength. That's something that I would do in more of an off season, which will be coming up soon enough during the summer. But when it comes to just maintaining strength, keeping things low volume but maintaining a high intensity is going to do the trick. A big part of my coaching philosophy is to divide the year into different sport seasons, and that means changing the priority of where strength versus the climbing performance takes place. And like I said, in season, priority goes to trying to perform outside. The next part of the workout that I want to talk about is the intensity of the lifts. The way that I have my clients and myself determine the intensity of the lifts is by what's called rate of perceived exertion, or RPE for short. It is a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being super easy, 10 being maximal effort. And what we're shooting for in this 3x5 maintenance workout is around an 8 or a 9. The weight associated with your RPE can change from session session to session. And so it's more important to consider the effort level rather than the weight itself. I just did my second set at 170 and it felt pretty good. So I'm gonna make the bump up to 175 for my last set. I've been strength training for quite some time. I started lifting in 2018, so it's been 6 years now. And so my numbers have stabilized a pretty good bit. The weight that I'm looking to maintain for these lifts is pretty consistent from year to year, from season to season. It can vary a little bit, but I have a pretty good ballpark idea of where to start. If you're new to lifting, it might take a little bit of time to figure out exactly where your RPE 8 or 9 lies. Plus, you may be making strength gains as you're figuring that out. So just check in with yourself on those RPE levels each session and just adjust the weight based on how you're feeling. I'm switching over to the bench press now, and as I warm up, I want to talk about the sets, reps, and rest times that you'll choose for your workouts based on what kind of adaptation you want to get from your training. So there's 3 main adaptations that you can get from strength training, and those are strength, hypertrophy, or endurance. Each of these different adaptations have a different energy system associated with them, and we won't get too into the science of it today, but basically different energy systems kick in at different exercise intensities and durations. In my opinion, when lifting weights to support your climbing, focusing on building a good foundation of general strength is going to be what's important. So we're looking at the strength adaptation here. As you can see from this table here, this means 2 to 6 sets of 6 or fewer reps with a rest time of 2 to 5 minutes in between. If all of this sounds a little bit confusing to you and you just want a program to follow, I do want to mention that my training membership, Adapt, is a program tailored specifically for climbers who are looking to add some structure to their sessions. All of the workouts are written from an exercise science informed approach so that you can take the guesswork out of your training and feel confident in your preparation for your climbing goals. Adapt does consider all of the different seasons. There are seasonal tracks that you can choose based on where you're at in your year. The program delivers 2 strength, 2 finger, and 2 climbing workouts each week based on the season that you're in, whether you're in season, pre-season, off-season. And if you're new to lifting and or training for climbing, there's also an introductory track as well. And finally, as I work my way through my 3 sets of 5 bench presses, I'll share a little bit more about my background. So my undergraduate degree is in biology. I actually left a research job working in a lab at the University of Colorado Medical Campus to pursue a career related to climbing. At the time, there weren't a whole lot of options for how to do just that. So I started by getting my personal training certification, and for about a year and a half, I worked as a personal trainer working with the general population, just in a regular personal training studio. And that's where I began my own strength training journey in 2018. When I started my own coaching business in 2020, working specifically with climbers, strength training for climbing was the first service that I offered. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that. If you have any questions about strength training, drop them in the comments below, and I'll make sure to do more videos like this in the future.